Today's episode is brought to you by Drizzly. Beer, wine, and liquor delivered in under 60 minutes. Let's face it, we've all been in that situation where you forgot to pick something up and you just don't want to get back in your car and head back to the store and get it. Well, Drizzly has you covered. Shop and order from thousands of products from local retailers with absolutely no markup. Seriously. And if you head over to unitedwedrink.com/drizzly, DRIZLY, right now and enter the promo code DrizzlyDeal, DRIZLYDEAL, you will get $5 off your first order of over $20. Sit back and relax and order yourself a 6-pack or a nice bottle of Cab Sav or a handle of Buffalo Trace if you so wish. Do it all with Drizzly at unitedwedrink.com/drizzly and then use the promo code DrizzlyDeal, DRIZLYDEAL, and you will get $5 off your first order of over $20. Drizzly. Beer, wine, and liquor delivered in under 60 minutes. Must be 21 to use. Enjoy responsibly. The opinions and statements in this podcast do not represent those of the host's employers, coworkers, family, or imaginary friends. Now enjoy the show.
Happy hour? More like amateur hour. Welcome to United We Drink.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the United We Drink podcast. I believe it is day 507 here in the world that we used to call Earth. And we're getting through this quarantine slowly but steadily. The world outside is not what we once knew it. That's all I'm going with. I had nothing written for the intro this week. Mike's here.
It was pretty serious.
I was trying to be ominous, I guess. It didn't work out so well. Phil's here. Joel's here. How are you guys doing dealing with all of this stuff, Phil?
I'm doing good. I'm here. I'm talking to you guys. I actually feel like I've had more online conversations similar to this, just without recording.
Yeah.
In the past week. So, yeah, I'm doing good. What about you, Joel?
I got a dark mild in my hand. I'm doing all right.
A dark mild? Oh my gosh. Where'd you get that unicorn of a beer?
Calusa.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, that's my last one. I'm sorry to see it go, but I got to drink it. I'm getting these weird cravings, man. It's like I'm so stocked up on fucking seltzers and light macro lagers and shit, but I've also got a good bit of craft beer left and, you know, a couple ESBs from Calusa. This is my last mild. Some point during this show, I'm going to dig into another coffee imperial stout from Second Shift, but I'm starting to crave hops. I'm starting to crave like a big toasty amber lager. Like I'm getting weird beer cravings all of a sudden. Anyone going through anything like that?
Yeah, it's funny you actually said that. I have I'm finishing up a Fact Check Pills, but I have an amber lager right here from Copper Point Brewing Company. So
You son of a
super
bitch.
excited.
Hey.
And I got a Negroni from Tip Top in a little tiny can in the hole, ready to go with a giant ice cube. What about you, Mike?
Well, first of all, I am going to have to see if I can find some Tip Top Negroni in a can, because that sounds awesome to try.
Georgia. Closest place you can find it is Georgia.
I'm not going to be finding any of that anytime soon.
I'll bring some back for you the next time I go.
I got a Crowler of Copper Point Apple Brandy Bock.
God, that was so good.
Yeah, it is.
That beer is amazing. I had that Friday. I did an all-team happy hour. Drank it right out of the Crowler. It was amazing. It's such a beautiful beer.
And I noticed that you, in that picture, like your quarantine mane is really coming out, or your Thor haircut
I dressed up as Travis from the Tiger King because one of the other regional directors dressed up as Joe Exotic, so figured why not be his husband.
That is like instant internet magic right now. It seems like you are in the minority if you have not seen that. That I think that Tiger King has spread quicker than COVID-19.
Joe, you got to watch it. Like it is absolutely ridiculous. It's a train wreck on fire with a semi truck turned over, and the whatever fast train it is just running over massive amounts of people. You don't want to watch it, but you have to watch it because it is so horrible.
I've only seen 2 episodes so far, but it is just insane. And of course, there's connections to Florida, and it wouldn't be insane if it didn't.
Lion Country Safari in West Palm is referenced in
the first couple minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a ex-drug dealer down in Miami.
Yeah.
That and then
he's practically
Cat
Scarface,
based out of Tampa. Yeah. He even said they based Scarface off of me, which I don't know. We're not here to debate that. Here to talk about beer. Not enough beer drinking in there though. There's a lot of Smirnoff vodka in the background.
I actually didn't notice. Normally, I like to take note of things like that in shows, but there's just so much else going on. It's like the one husband who's always shirtless.
Joe.
Yes. Yeah. No, John.
Is it Joe?
John.
No, John.
Joe, John,
there's
Travis.
Good twist with John coming up in a few episodes.
Oh, okay.
I like it.
All right,
Joel, you got to watch it.
It's just one. I don't mean to be contrarian. It's one of those things where it's like everyone's watching it, so I just feel like they've got enough views. They don't need me. I'm just weird like that. I'll probably end up watching it.
You will. All right, so we wanted to talk about some positive stuff that we're seeing in the beer industry, not just right now, but I feel like we should give credit where credit's due to people who are doing great things, whether or not be for beer or their communities, their employees, things like that, and keep a positive vibe. But before we get into that, we should maybe talk about something that might seem like a somewhat negative thing, and that's what all of this, all these breweries turning to takeout. There's now a national shortage of crowlers. Only one manufacturer makes crowlers, Ball, and they have the patent on it. So they only make them, I believe, in one of their plants. If someone wants to correct me on that, I'd be happy to retract that statement and give a correction. But as far as I know, only one of their facilities, I think it's Broomfield, Colorado, makes their crowlers. So that is just, things are getting crazy out there. We recently at our brewery, our normal supplier was like, I'm on about a 3-week lead time right now. And then someone else he got a quote from was like $600 higher than normal that they're asking. So we're getting into almost like gas price gouging during the hurricane times for us with crowlers.
Well, Mike, that's called supply and demand. No, we have. So I've had a bunch of on-premise accounts reach out to me just within the past probably week, maybe week and a half, asking specifically for crowler machines and crowlers. And I think a lot of it is they're trying to do cocktails to go. We're seeing a big movement down here in South Florida where you'll have restaurants put together a, be it a Ball screw top,
mason
jar. Yeah, thank you. Or a
swing top thing.
Yeah, exactly. A swing top bottle like the Grolsch bottles. Doing pre-mixed cocktails to go anywhere. I mean, I heard this past week one of my favorite places, and Delray Beach was doing something like
Park
12 old
Tavern.
fashions
Yeah.
for like
40
$40.
bucks. 40 bucks
Awesome.
for a
If I
1.5
didn't live
liter
an
of
hour
old
away,
fashioned.
Jesus, I would have like swung by and just picked up 2 bottles, 3 bottles, and just happily went home because they make really good old fashions. So we're seeing accounts trying to get creative, which I really like. The innovation piece of what's going on right now. If there is a silver lining to what's going on in the world, people are surviving and finding ways to survive. Based off of package to go. Breweries are doing delivery. We were sort of talking about that before we went hot. And I think it's interesting. I'm really curious to see where these laws go once everything goes back to regular.
Mm-hmm.
And do we backpedal a little bit on the laws and say, hey, we give you a temporary on that one, but this is a big no-no? Or, are we still going to have brewers, jumping in their car to deliver to 15 area codes around their or zip codes around their brewery?
Well, I know one major issue with delivery is insurance. And they're either getting some sort of temporary coverage or finding some loopholes or whatever it may be. But, it's a serious concern. I feel like people are actually driving a bit crazier now that the roads are less full. I mean, even in my
100% agree.
Yeah. Just it's scary shit, man. I mean, especially for South Florida. So, being out on the roads during this time is maybe less traffic, but still possibly risky. I'm personally, I'm glad we just shut down temporarily. Like, I really feel for our staff and everything, but I don't want to be filling crowlers. I don't want to be in contact with anyone. We just need to ride this out.
Is that where you guys are right now, is with a temporary shutdown?
Yeah, we've been shut down. I want to say like a week and a half now. We just, safety reasons, man. We just called it quits. I mean, we tried staying open for, I want to say Monday through Wednesday. Each day was worse than the last as far as attendance and business and everything. But I mean, ultimately, it was really a matter of safety. And, it just didn't feel right expecting people to come in and sit down. I mean, we initially scrubbed the hell out of everything, kept, real high maintenance fucking cleaning procedures, like really vigilant about it. But, even eventually moving bar stools away from each other. We took away at least half the bar stools and stashed them in the corner and tried to seat people away from each other. But, people just seem to already keep their distance. And after a while, it was just like, we're just going to put this on pause for a little bit.
Yeah, we're still going with the whole takeout thing. It's been decent for us. I've been kind of surprised by it, but we've been trying to put specialty things on almost daily to be able to try to entice people into coming in and grabbing some beer. We've had some super hot items. We did just a sixtel of a Paloma sour that was grapefruit and lime that we're like, hey, let's give this a whirl. Sold the entire keg in 5 hours.
Holy cow.
So we, a couple days later made a 50 liter of it for the weekend. And we went through that whole thing in the weekend. So it's cool because it's allowed us in the brewery to, I mean, we had a pretty busy week in the brewery. We've filled the rest of our tanks with stuff that can go long. We're still getting can orders from our distributor, so that still requires us to have to do some canning. But we get to be a little creative with coming up with some of these little specialty things that we can throw on in our tap room and make a specialty crowler of stuff that people probably wouldn't normally be able to get in a crowler at our spot. So I think that's helped us out a lot in this time. We're not doing the delivery thing. There's a lot of point of contentions on that in this state right now because it is not technically legal. I wouldn't even go with technically. It is in the law that it is illegal, but someone at the state gave an okay to one brewery to do it, So now a few other breweries are doing it, but the guild still maintains that it's illegal. So we're just kind of staying away from it. I'm all for like breweries doing what they need to do to stay open within the law. But the biggest thing that I'm afraid of, like, you know what, if it's just a fine and a slap on the wrist for the brewery, that's one thing. But I'm afraid of like these wholesaler lobbyists who have come down at breweries like us for a long time, and like them coming next congressional session and being like, look, you guys broke these laws. Yeah, it was a trying time, but you did that. Now we gotta start working on different things. And then they start to try to want to pass laws with their senators and reps that are
that they have a lot
sympathetic to
more
them.
money.
Yeah.
And they have significantly more money. I agree with you, Mike.
I'm afraid of that. Like, I hope that
I
doesn't
hope-
get to it, but I'm afraid of that.
I actually sort of hope that some of the and what we're seeing is a lot of smaller breweries, when you look at barrelage production, are going the route of delivery right now, and I hope that they have a conversation with their local distributor to make sure that they're not, going after them in a
Good
negative
point. Yeah,
light.
talk to your own
Uh,
distributor.
I think right now the main thing, we're still open. The Tampa facility is still open. All of our breweries are still open. Tasting room in Tampa is doing well. Again, to go only, pushing a decent amount of beer and a decent amount of food, as we just opened up a restaurant side in Tampa. And the sales team, we're still analyzing everything multiple times in a day, trying to make sure that our sales team is safe and comfortable. But we are still going out into our regional, local, and national chains and trying to help merchandise and make sure that our product's available. The past 2 weeks have come with a ton of draft cuts. Draft is dead. It's basically package only right now. And I think the most challenging thing from a brewery perspective, specifically when you're looking at the long tail of this, is we still have, keep in mind, if you're going to brew a beer, maybe it's a larger beer, it takes several weeks, sometimes a month, a little bit longer, just to brew the beer, not necessarily just to pick up additional package or cardboard, corrugated cardboard, trays. There's a lot of things that are still going on that there's a lot of internal discussion right now in regards to how do we continue to move forward? Do we just focus on our, core brands that are keeping the lights on, quite literally, or are we continuously pushing through some of these seasonals? And it's a really interesting time that continuously changes. And again, it goes back to communication with our wholesalers, where if we're not having open lines of communication, and if you're not having open lines of communication, if you are in the industry right now, you're doing yourself a disservice. You really are. And apparently, we have all of these amazing applications that we can still take meetings, like Zoom and MS Teams and Skype and Duo and FaceTime. There's no reason why communication should be at a shortage for the time being.
You bring up a great point there, Phil, about seasonals. I mean, you work for a company that has multiple brewery brands underneath it. You guys put out your calendar of releases months ago, and I'm sure you're getting to the point to where certain things are supposed to be rolling out soon in package and in draft. And now your draft is all out of whack. Maybe they'll take some package. Maybe they won't. Who knows? Because they can't do quite the same rollout as normal. Like, that's got to be a scary, frustrating time to be thinking about that.
It's not. I don't know if it's necessarily scary. Obviously, you assess the situation. Luckily, we're a brew to order facility, or multiple facilities. So you place an order, wholesaler places an order. We have the ability to brew the beer. to order. That allows us a little bit more control. We're not just willy-nilly throwing in batches of beer trying to push it out to distribution. So at least we have a plan, and we can have, again, a conversation and make sure that things are on the right time frame. I can tell you right now, it's core brands. I think all of us sort of talked about it this past year. Actually, in our hypothesis or our guess are for 2020, the legacy brands are really thriving right now, and it's sort of due to the on-premise suffering. You're starting to see spikes in sales with brands that people are trying to get in and out of a grocery store within 5 minutes. They're going to pick up the brand that they're the most familiar with, not necessarily the brand that they have to read the six-pack to figure out what type of 7, 6, 4, 3, 2 different hops are in it.
Or might be the closest to the door, closest to the register, on a stacker somewhere. Like, I've seen a few of our local grocery stores with big stackers of macro brands, and believe me, it's kind of enticing. It's like, oh, there's a suitcase of Miller Lite cans. Like,
Lots of my conversations this week were macro is winning this battle right now. Obviously, seltzers are still doing very well. How do we get craft to really take their share? And a lot of it's placement. I think he hit it on the head, Mike.
And merchandising, which I know, like, you and your team have been. That was why you visited us at Copper Point the other day. You were up our way doing merchandising of your grocery stores and helping out your team, and you stopped in. Like, I heard from someone that our own liquor store down the big liquor store down the street, like, hey, someone needs to come in and pull your guys' stuff forward because it's like all the way in the back. Like, shit. Like, you need to be able to get someone in there to just face your product, bring it forward and restock. You might have the product in the back at the store. It just needs to be back out there. And I know a lot of salespeople are now having to be merchandisers, and something they might not necessarily enjoy doing, but hey, it's keeping a paycheck coming to you. It's keeping your brand relevant, and hopefully keeping your brand strong when things get back to quasi-normal.
It's going to be interesting to see how out of code beer plays into all this at the end. Who's who's taking the hit for it? It fucking A. I mean, the draft alone, holy shit. I mean, there are just countless restaurants and bars and gastropubs and all these places with tons of taps, and those faucets aren't flowing.
Well, let's not be so doom and gloom, and let's talk about some positive stuff here. We wanted to be a little positive and talk about some things that we're seeing right now or have seen in the past that just makes us feel good about this industry, because obviously we got into this industry because something about it made us feel good. And we continue to be in this industry because there must be certain things that make us feel good about this industry. So let's talk about some of those things. And I know that we've talked about in the last few episodes about how creative breweries are getting with online sales for pickups and creating apps and all of that is super positive stuff, and getting creative with their ability to sell beers. But right before we went on, I mentioned Machine House in Seattle. They're a brewery who makes a lot of cask beer. And in a time with takeaway, they can't really sell a whole lot of cask pints to take away. So what did they do? They went and made cask beer in a box, like boxed wine, because of its low carbonation level. It's in a bag, in a box. You can come into their brewery, take it home, and you have cask beer at home. And sorry about the dog, but I think that's ingenious. That is something so creative now that we are seeing. And we I think that that's an amazing thing to see a brewery doing right now. It's a positive for them. It's a positive for their fans. So, Phil's pouring his Negroni in a can right now, and it's looking amazing. Great podcast material. Phil, during this time that we're going through, and we'll get into previous things later, what are you seeing something that is super positive and makes you happy and proud to be in this industry?
Honestly, it's the teamwork aspect of it. We're seeing a lot of wholesalers working together right now, which I think is it's integral for the growth, the continued growth of this industry, specifically in a trying time. It's nice to sort of see some of the wholesaler minor bickering sort of settle, at least. So we're seeing more teamwork in the industry right now. Suppliers, for the most part, are coming in and actually really trying to help out and trying to help out however they can. And I think that that's the right thing. We're actually, for the most part, when I've been out in the industry within the past 2 weeks, the attitudes of people, or just the general public, have actually been pretty overwhelmingly positive. Very rarely are you running into some spaz that is freaking out with oversized gloves on and, a giant mask and thinking that the world's coming to an end. Humanity is really shining right now, in my opinion. And we're even seeing it in the beer industry.
Yeah, and especially with the things that have been set up for bartenders who are now out of jobs, like GoFundMe's, and seeing how they are being funded like almost immediately to try to help their staff is such a great feel-good story.
I actually saw something on social media today. It was a local restaurant chain that actually had to lay a bunch of people off, and it's quite unfortunate when anyone loses their job, but they are once a week or multiple times within the week doing free meals. They had free
You talking about
diapers.
Howley's?
Yes.
Subculture Group?
Yep. Subculture Group is
they
doing
deserve the recognition
amazing
for
things
this. Yeah.
right now for anyone in the industry, taking care of people, giving them meals to go, diapers to go. I was, and then on top of that, they worked with a local barbecue restaurant, which is Troy's Barbecue, which if you ever come to South Florida, please just go to Troy's. Just like Troy's Barbecue is hands down some of the best barbecue, I think, in the state of Florida, personally. But Troy's
Location
Barbecue
in Boynton and Boca.
They have nothing to do with the Subculture Group, and they came in today and supplied a bunch of food for industry-only people that are out of work. This industry, the hospitality industry, is one of the strongest industries in the United States. And I can't wait for us to see through this, because there is going to be, in my opinion, a really, really strong resurgence of the on-premise. And a lot of things that we took for granted in the past, I don't think as a society we will be taking for granted moving forward.
No, and I'll get to you in just a second, Joel, but I want to piggyback off of what Phil said. The Subculture Group, Rodney Mayo, who runs that guy, to me, is quintessentially what I love about South Florida. He's not palm trees and flamingos. He's about his community. I love a lot of his restaurants and his bars already as it is. When I saw that Howley's was doing that, and there's a great and passionate speech that Rodney gave to the city council last week about trying to help other small businesses. And he is not just doing that, but he mentions he is feeding his own former employees. Like, he's giving them a meal every single day. He had to lay off 650 people across all of his restaurants and bars. And when things get back to quasi-normal, I cannot wait to go support like my favorite places that he does, like Howley's and Kapow and Lost Weekends and Sassafras and Subculture Coffee and all of those places in West Palm. that I love. Not to mention his places in Delray, Jupiter, Miami, stuff like that. He is respectable streets. I mean, one of his longest running venues for music, and like that guy is West Palm Beach to me, and he deserves to be the story to get out a little bit more. I know he would disagree with that, but like Rodney is West Palm, and Rodney is West Palm restaurants and hospitality through and through.
He's
Joel,
Palm Beach, in my opinion. Everywhere. West Palm all the way down to Boca. That guy has made an impact.
Yeah. Joel, what's something you're seeing that people are doing right now that's a positive and has made you feel good about the industry?
Well, distilleries and breweries who have distilleries making hand sanitizer and providing it to, first responders and hospitals and those who need it. Companies, not necessarily within the beer industry, but related to the industry that make clothing, starting to sew masks and shit like that. Everyone seems to be stepping up and trying to figure out whatever they can do to help. You're seeing breweries donate beer that they know is going to go bad to be distilled down into alcohol to be made into sanitizer. So that's one thing that's been pretty prevalent, and it's inspiring to see. You mentioned when you started this segment, if you will, that we all saw something positive in this industry. I actually just got into it for the light hours and the big money, but but I was also told there'd be no cleaning. But it seems like, I mean, I wanted to post something and I never did, but I had this thought not long ago, and it was like, how can we make it through this? How can we adapt? How can we adjust to what's happening? Because I'm sitting here thinking, like, this is craft beer. This is innovation at its finest. Like, everyone constantly pivoting, trying new things, adapting. So much innovation, so much outside the box thinking. And I was just thinking to myself, like, how can we get through this and get through it together? Because I feel like we are a resilient bunch and come together when it comes to, like the resilience beer, or, just helping each other out. I mean, it started back in the day, all of us just helping each other, borrowing shit from each other, working together with our nearest competition. And now it feels like the pressure is on more than ever. I mean, this is really a struggle to survive, and it feels like amazing. I mean, maybe we're not hearing about it as much, but it feels like there is definitely not as much, fucking not as many closures as we were expecting. Like, it felt like there were just a lot of places that would be fucked immediately, but people are thriving. I think the to-go sales, the deliveries are really helping them get through, and I'm hopeful that we're going to see minimal closures due to this, and I think seeing everybody come together, think outside the box, make sanitizer and shit like that. So I don't know.
We've been contacted by some distilleries asking about, like, hey, if you guys have any beer that is going to go out of code or anything like that, let us know. We'd be happy to buy it from you, and we can make sanitizer with it. And I think that's I know that we would love to not have to think about beer going out of code and going bad, but at least we have the knowledge, knowing that there's someone out there who will take the liquid and use it for good. I know Jeremy Danner hates when people refer to beer as liquid
or product.
But it's reassuring, and it's awesome to see that going on. and to keep this continuing positivity going, like let's talk about other things that just like people are doing to just be good breweries, be good people. And like I know that we've brought them up a number of times before on this brewery, because like Joel especially has a great relationship with the Second Shift folks, who just seem to have this connection with their employees and their community that is so damn admirable, that it makes me smile when I see them putting out new products and them selling beer. I mean, of course, having to have laid off their staff sucked, but I mean, look at how quickly they were able to fulfill their GoFundMe for their staff, because their fans and their regulars love that staff so much and love them. I mean, so many wonderful things I feel like can be said about a brewery like them. Joel, who are some people that you feel like, or just positive stories that you want to share about this industry with people?
Well, not to keep everything focused on Missouri, but you are correct in what you said about Second Shift. And not only did they do the GoFundMe and it well exceed the amount they were looking for their furloughed staff, but they actually paused it because they were like, okay, let's let other people get some attention and some funds and charity right now. So, amazing. I'm trying to find the tweet here. Oh, so she basically said our GoFundMe is paused in order to help others that needed more. And this stemmed from the whole Yelp fiasco that, since we're focusing on positives, I won't get into that. But Pat from Boulevard, Pat's hopped up. He has created some merch, some shirts and stuff that you can order online that I guess benefit their local hospitality industry. Not necessarily beer, but I did order a shirt that benefits the Chicago hospitality industry, including those at Off Color, the Mousetrap tap room. So, I'm trying to support not only near but far. Those places have a special place in my beer-soaked heart, and I'm hoping they pull through as well. So, everyone's just trying to do what they can, whether it's GoFundMe's, merch, special products, donating proceeds, whatever they can. And like I said before, I'm encouraged that it seems that everyone is staying afloat at the moment. At least so it seems.
Phil, what about you?
I touched on it a little bit earlier. I just looked up that shirt. It's a really cool shirt, by the way. I think the resilience of this, just humanity in particular, and the force of innovation and seeing the collaboration out in the market right now. Invasive Species, local brewery down here, working with local food trucks that right now are really suffering. People don't want to come out, so they're bringing in several local food trucks that they work with on a regular basis, and they're doing to-go beers, to-go dinners. Literally, you can walk up, or actually at Invasive, you literally stay in your car, and they will bring your crowlers out to you in a to-go fashion. And you can pick up dinner at the same time. And that collaboration has always been there between food trucks and on-premise food vendors, and craft breweries. But now to actually see it come to fruition in a different stage, where they're truly supporting each other's businesses, I think is really fun to see. In addition to that, seeing some of the do-goodery around the, just South Florida right now with Rodney Mayo's group is fantastic.
Yeah, and I think about people who have helped me kind of get through tough points in the industry or just life in general, and like having great friends in this industry down here, like you guys obviously, but like our friends at Barrel of Monks, who like Kevin is one of my best friends, if not my best friend, because and that guy's just done so much for me professionally and personally. I can't even put it into words sometimes. And they just had their anniversary technically this past weekend. It was supposed to be a whole big to do and a party and whatnot, and of course that got canceled. But I mean, they still released their fifth year anniversary, I believe it was.
Yep.
Yes, it was.
And their beer. I'm looking forward to getting a hold of one of those bottles and drinking that and helping support those great friends of mine, I would like to say all of ours in this industry. Like it makes me think as well that we have our 5th anniversary scheduled for May, and hopefully we'll be able to do something with that around that time. But like there's so many like great people who have done great things out in this industry. Like I was just thinking of small little things today, and I remember one time Joel and I were working Hunapoo Day for a brewery that we used to be at, and really long time friend of the show Juan Font was there. I mean, this guy, he still listens now. He listens to the original show. He was coming up to our booth and being like, "Hey, you guys want to try anything? I'll go, give me your glasses. I'll go get it for you," because we were working. And like, he'd go over, stand in line, and then bring us back stuff and bullshit with us for a little bit. Like, dude, Juan, love you to death. I wish I got to see you more, but like, that was such an awesome thing for you to do for us that day. You've always been a fan of the show, which I don't completely understand because who the fuck are we? But like, that was one of like the nicest things. He's not necessarily a guy who works in the industry, but he's just a longtime fan of this show. Great person in general. Actually, I think that same one, I don't know if he listens to the show anymore, Doug Russ. He was doing that for us too, coming up and getting like, "Let me grab your glass. I'll go grab you guys some stuff." Like, he does awesome stuff for like cats, literal actual cats out there. Like, and if you follow him on Instagram, he's doing wonderful things for just the feline species, and I think that he's a good dude in that sense too. But like, are there any little minor things like that that you guys want to bring up? Phil, Joel. Phil's pointing to Joel, I think.
No, I was going to ask. Do you mean just overall in general, or
yeah,
what's
just
now?
let's point out positivities in this industry. Let's give credit where credit's due. It doesn't have to be around this whole COVID thing. Let's talk about people who did awesome things that maybe flew under the radar and deserve recognition, whether or not they necessarily won it or not. Like, good deeds shouldn't go like untalked about. Like,
I mean, almost shout out to literally every brewery that I've ever visited, because I always feel that the brotherhood or sisterhood of breweries, it sort of translates everywhere, be it Ardent in Virginia, Answer in Virginia, Boulevard in Missouri, all the way down to some, honestly, I hate to say it, but some breweries that I forgot their names because they were so small out in California. When I did have the ability to walk in and visit and just introduce myself and say, "Hey, my name's Phil. I'm in the industry down south." It always seems like people are excited to show you what they're doing, how they're doing it, and how they're doing it differently. And I think that camaraderie in this industry, part of the reason why all three of us got into this industry, it speaks volumes, and it's something that truly goes back to the core of me, where I will fight and do everything I possibly can to make sure that the craft beer industry stays around as long as possible.
Well, one positive I'd like to share, and I don't think I really got a chance to talk about this on the last couple episodes since going up to Tampa earlier in the month. Went to the Best Florida Beer Competition. After the ceremony, I left there, had to get home, but I wanted to stop by Cigar City and pick up some package to go, maybe try some stuff on tap if I had time. Everything was awesome. I really wanted to check out the new tap room. Really impressive. The whole place has been remodeled and things have been shifted around, and really, really great setup. And I realized as I was pulling into the parking lot that this was the first time I was just going on my own, like not only with nobody with me, but just going to go, not because there's some event happening there, not because we're all traveling there together for the weekend for some big deal like Hunahpu Day or whatever. I was just stopping by as a fan and a friend, and I pulled in, the parking lot was full, but I did find a spot, and I remember getting out and looking around, and I was just like overwhelmed with positivity and gratitude. I mean, just looking at what that whole place has become, and kind of being amazed at like what it looks like when there's nothing crazy going on and it's just a regular business day, because I probably parked like where our booth was set up one year for Hunahpu Day. Like it was toward the end, like kind of like one year we were like right by the stage. And I remember just walking in and just being like, holy shit, the memories here. I mean, we've been going there for at least a decade, and I just loved it. I loved everything about it. Looking around, thinking of all the shit that's gone down there every time we've gone, the car trips, the laughs we've had, all that stuff, the beers we've drank.
It's so funny how much of that stuff, too, is just in the parking lot of that place.
Right.
A majority
before even
of it's
walking
in the parking
into
lot.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of those
Or
events you couldn't even
after
get in the tap room.
stumbling out of it and having somebody safely drive us home, obviously.
No, but it felt really great to be back there. It felt like a homecoming in a weird way. You know what I mean? So it was great to be there. Had some really great stuff there, and it was a great experience. And then when you think of outside Florida, I mean, there are just so many incredible people out there, especially in the Midwest. There's too many cool people to mention and great places to get beer. Boulevard Second Shift, Metropolitan in Chicago, Off Color in Chicago. I mean, I hope things get back to normal relatively quickly, because I really want to get out and about in the country and visit a lot of breweries on my bucket lists, and the bucket list we've talked about. And I mean, I want to go with both of you guys to fucking Sarasota and just hit up Calusa. I can't stop raving about it. I was saying the other day, I don't think there's a more complete brewery right now, because they're cranking out ESBs, milds, Mexican lagers, funky ass saisons, sours, all kinds of crazy. I mean, they're just running the gamut and just masterfully doing everything that they do. So, there's too much good stuff. I mean, that's the great thing about this industry, is that sometimes we'll joke about it's saturated and there's too many, and there's a lot of bad beer coming out and a lot of people getting into the business for the wrong reasons. But I think when you truly distill it down, we got into this for the right reason, and we excel for the right reasons, and we're surrounded by great people. And I mean, shit, not to be over dramatic, this fucking saved my life. And I just had the anniversary a couple weeks ago of leaving the cubicle.
Congratulations.
Do you miss that guy above your desk?
Oh my god, that son of a bitch.
Phil, like when you were talking, I was reminded of really, I think the first trip you and I ever did as like beer fans out to Colorado and going to a brewery that you now work with.
Yeah,
in Oscar Blues.
Yeah,
And taking the tour there and getting Gubna straight off the canning line.
Oh, shit.
Like, because they were telling us about how they have that the X-ray system that can see the can fill levels and kicks off a can if it's not filled, and it went right into like a recycling bin. And someone with us was like, "What do you do with those?" And I'm like, "Oh, the employees take them. Can we have one?" The guy's like, "Oh yeah, sure." Like I should have told you that you guys can have one. So it's just like, oh, here are these slightly low filled Gubnas. Help yourselves. Like that whole trip, really. Like we got to hang out in Avery and eat barbecue and drink sour beers. We got a major behind the scenes tour at New Belgium, which like I'm thankful to say, like, I've gotten to do behind the scene tours with New Belgium people more times than I feel like a lot of people probably have. And I can't wait to go and do it again, because like now that we've become like kind of friendly with Maddie Smooth on the internet, like I was thinking about this the other day, like, dude, I want to go back out to Colorado during like the summer. Like I want to go to Boulder, I want to go to Fort Collins, like I want to go hang out at those places and enjoy the outdoors there. And it's just, Colorado's a magical place. Things happen out there that change your life forever. Edibles sometimes included in that.
There's so much good that, and you know, Joel, you said Sarasota. I was actually hoping for Chicago, because I'd love to go up to Chicago with you.
Oh fuck, let's do it. Let's
do a brewery tour, just brewery tour hopping around Chicago in particular. I would go back out to Colorado in a heartbeat. I was lucky enough to go out to Colorado this past December. Third time I've been at the Longmont facility. First time was with you guys, or with you, Mike, and the growth and the experience and the change of everything is just it's dumbfounding almost, to see not only how like I've progressed through the industry, but also the memories that are shared around that facility in particular. And a lot of the things have changed, and I've been there 4 times. I take that back. But Joel, back to your, parking in Spruce Street at Cigar City, and walking in and thinking about all those memories. I would be lying to you if I said anything different than every single time I'm in Tampa and I walk into that facility, I think of literally all of the amazing memories that I've had, not only as an employee, but honestly more so as a person and as just a friend. Every single time I walk into that tasting room, every single time I walk through those office doors, it is, in my opinion, that is a very magical place in Florida, just for craft beer in general. But yeah, I mean, all of the amazing times, not only that we've had, but think about how many other people. I mean, I forgot my behind the scenes tour to Allagash that I ended up grabbing, and that was just like crazy.
Holy shit.
And being able to see it, going into their fooder room and checking out their barrel room, and I'd go to Maine with you guys in a heartbeat. There's literally not a single place in the United States you could say, hey, I want to go out to Idaho and I want to visit, 4 breweries within a 3,000 mile square foot. And I jump on a plane in a heartbeat just to go through and do that, because it's literally that much fun.
It is kind of funny to think about, like, we've been in this industry, like all of us, like you've been in longer than us, Phil.
30 years combined. 32 years combined.
We're
Think about that experience, ladies
about a
and gentlemen.
decade each,
32
almost.
years of experience sitting on this podcast right now.
And I'd be lying if any time that I'm thinking about going to a place, if the first thing that I look up isn't what breweries are in the area, because I still get excited to go and see what breweries are doing in a different location. Oh, is there a brewery right there? Yeah, there is. I'm going to try to find a way to get in and at least have a flight or a pint or something and just see what's going on there.
Usually goes breweries, and then you're asking for recommendations for food as you're sitting at the bar and saying, hey, where should I eat around here? What do you think? And you've already done that research. You've already looked on the interwebs,
A little bit, yeah.
you know, and
But
like,
you trust those
I think I'm going to hit up
bartenders.
that spot. Oh, they just told me the barbecue's better over here. You know what? I'm going to go over there real quick. And then if it's not that great, I'm going to go back to where I was doing my research before. But yeah, 100%.
Yeah. It's amazing because you do think sometimes like you get burnt out on the industry, but there's still something about it that like I love going to a brewery and seeing what's up, and like when someone new opens up in the area, I want to try to find a way that I can get over to them as soon as possible because I want to see what's going on there, and then try to revisit them at a later date and see how things are going as well. Because, sometimes first batches don't always go as well as you would think. Like right before I moved to Philly, Royal Palm Brewing opened in Royal Palm Beach, Florida. I went to their place a couple times. They had some good beers. I went recently for the first time since moving back, like maybe about 3-4 weeks ago. And they have some really good beers right now. I also love just the size of their tap room. It's like almost, in my mind, a perfect size. But like, it's funny to think that I probably have an ulterior motive towards going to a brewery anytime I'm visiting a place.
I mean, we could brewery tour around South Florida, the three of us, and it would still be fun. And I guarantee you there's breweries that I haven't been to in South Florida yet. There's a bad person.
There's probably a ton of breweries that we have not been to, all of us haven't been to, and we could just.
If anybody wants to go to Tripping Animals, I'm tossing that out there right now. Like, if anybody wants to go to Tripping Animals, I will literally meet you guys en route, however you want to go about it. Once we see through all this bullshit, I'll jump in a car and go to Tripping Animals in a heartbeat.
They're Doral, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we brewed a collaboration with them when I first started at Copperpoint. And good people. And I want to go to Unseen Creatures
Absolutely.
down there.
Absolutely. I would do that one in the same day with you.
Looks like we have a new Miami brewery hopping day tentatively planned. Maybe this is like a love letter to this industry, but because I know we get upset sometimes. We get angry and we voice our opinions on things on the show. Oh, surprise, podcast opinions. But, at the end of the day, we're all still in this industry. Because we love what we do. We love what we ultimately create. And I think that says a lot. And the fact that we can encounter other people throughout this country who have that similar love as us that keep us going it means so damn much. Because I have moments where I doubt this, and I've texted Joel on this many times. I think I need to get out of this industry, but then something drags me back in, and it's like, no, what, stay in this because you are This is what you are. And like, it's so funny that I can just look at someone like Allagash's Instagram feed and just be like, they make beer so beautiful. And like, anytime I feel bad, I just go on Allagash's Instagram account and I'm like, yep, all right, I feel better because they make beer, they make art, they love their community. Like that's what I want. And I was like, if they can do it, then so can anyone else. And they keep me going so much.
They're incredible. I mean, their beer, they do everything right.
All right. Anyone else want to add something? We've gone way long on this episode. Shit. No
It's a good
one
one,
else
though.
add
We
anything.
needed it.
Yeah.
We needed
did.
to talk about some really positive things and, sort of stay with a smile on our face as
Stay sane.
everything going on around the world is a little nutso right now. And I'm Adam Negroni.
Last calls. You guys got last calls? Joel? No?
Not really.
Phil?
This past week, customer service is something that is dying in the world. But this past week, I was able to sit on customer service support help with Crutchfield, the sound speaker company, with Derek specifically. So, Derek, I know you don't listen to this podcast, but if you did, hey, buddy, thank you so much for sitting on an hour, going through customer support and really going the extra mile. As I was trying to troubleshoot something in my car audio. So customer service is not dead, and Crutchfield made a customer for life. They were always something that was somewhat of a luxury for me in the past because their prices are a little bit higher, but they really do go above and beyond any other company that I've ever dealt with. This guy, Derek, was amazing.
I want to say something to continue some of the positivity, and that if you follow me on Twitter, you already saw me say this, but like I had a rough week. Like so there were some ups and downs mentally, but like I got like an unsolicited comment from a peer in this industry that really made me feel good about myself and really made me feel confident about the work that I do. And like, it was unnecessary. It didn't need to be done, but the person still did it. And it completely turned my day and my week around. And for that, I thank that person. They know who they are. Also pass it along. Like someone says something nice to you, like compliments, like true compliments can really go a long way right now with people's mental states and their moods. So like one of my buddies was just saying something on Instagram, like I need some positivity in my life, and I shot him a DM with like some positive compliments about him, and like send it forward. Like you never know how much a little compliment like that could really improve someone's day, week, month, or even their year. I'll be there for you. But on that note, you can follow the podcast on Instagram at United We Drink Pod, on Twitter at United We Drink. We're also on Facebook as well, so you can like us there as well. You can listen to the podcast on any of the major podcast apps, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Podcasts, the new and improved Google Podcasts, from what I understand. Phil, is it good?
No, not really.
Okay.
I like the old. I really like the old version so much better, but I guess it feeds you your new podcast a little bit easier than before.
If we're no longer
listen
on
to
Google
us on
Podcasts
Google
after
Podcasts,
this
that's
week,
fine.
then you know
You
who
know
to
why.
blame.
Me.
You can, if you want to support the show in any particular way, the best way is through our web store, unitedwedrink.com/store. We got t-shirts, buttons, stickers, you can get coffee mugs of any of the designs, like bags, lots of weird, crazy things. But that really helps us out a lot. And the fact that some people have been buying shirts and stuff from us has been super awesome. And like the support means a lot to us. So there's our store. So check that out. We'll be back with you guys next week for a mini episode. I know last week's mini episode wasn't so mini, but this world's weird and different. So is the podcast. Phil's making hand gestures. I don't know what they mean. So we'll wrap things up here. Catch you next time. Cheers.
Cheers.
See ya. We should do a Zoom podcast or a Zoom happy hour with the podcast folks and invite people out.